following program is closed captioned for the thinking impaired.
You broke my heart and you made me cry. You hurt me when you were around. But now I'm back to let you know you'll never keep this big girl down. They don't cry. Who says they don't cry? My, oh my. I wonder why. I told my boy we'd have to break up. I thought that he would call my bluff when he said to my surprise, big girls don't cry.
Big girls don't cry at night.
They don't cry.
Big girls don't cry.
Who says they don't cry?
Big girls don't cry. Big girls don't cry.
You broke my heart and you made me cry. You hurt me when you were around. But now I'm back to let you know you'll never keep this big girl down.
Maybe I was cruel.
I was cruel.
Baby,
I'm a fool. Shame on you, my mama said. Shame on you, you cried in bed. Shame on you, you told a lie. Big girls don't cry.
big girls don't cry at night.
They don't cry.
Big girls don't cry.
That's just an alibi.
Big girls don't cry. Big girls don't cry.
They don't cry, honey. Big girls don't cry.
Big girls don't cry.
You'll never keep this big mama down. They don't cry, honey. Big girls don't cry.
Oh, it's the NGCC, the National Glass Casket Company.
Well, let me introduce myself. I'm HTB, Horace Thomas Buckmaster with the NGCC. I've got a deal to make you rich. Get your fingers in the pie. There's money to be made, my friends, in the sweet old by and by. With the NGCC, the National Glass Casket Company. Well, Berrien's big business now. Let's let 'em go in class. Can't you see how nicely they pass away in glass? With the NGCC, the National Glass Casket Company. Now bring your money and step right up. Just lay it down. Why not invest in how we all will rest while underground? The future's here and on display, my friends, you'll have no doubt how much better things will look from the inside looking out. With the NGCC, the National Glass Casket Company. I got one here, it's crystal clear, and now because of you, your friends revealed and perma-sealed and buried with a view.
With the NGCC, the National Glass Casket Company.
$20? Thank you, sir. That's 20 shares. $30? Careful, ma'am, we'll all be millionaires. I guarantee you dividends and regular returns. We'll all be growing filthy rich while the parted watch the worm. With the NGCC, the National Glass Casket Company. See for yourself, it's crystal clear, and I promise you airtight. Your friends won't face a foggy scene unless they breathe at night.
With the NGCC, the National Glass Casket Company.
with the NGCC, the National Glass Casket Company. Now, why don't you let me wrap one up for you? Make a lovely gift for your mother-in-law.
Lorne Green with the National Glass Casket Company, and before that, Edith Massey with Big Girls Don't Cry. Of course, Miss Edie was part of John Waters' stock player company of the from Dreamland Studios, who did some of the films like Pink Flamingos and Female Trouble, just to name a few. Hi, welcome to the 10th Brain Sandwich Podcast. My name is Mike Madonna. Luckily, we have all 9 of them before this one posted. So, no doubt you've discovered that by now, but I was just pleased that they got up as quick as they did. And we'll try and keep them coming as quick as best we can. I can't guarantee that it'll all work out, but I'm got to finish shows 11 through 14. Then I'll be doing the Thanksgiving program and, of course, a Christmas program as well, and stuff in between. So I hope you'll stick around for that. All right, the Colon Sphincter Band released their new CD 2 nights ago. It was called the Brown Album. Of course, if you look at it, it just says the Colon Sphincter Band on it, but it's all brown. And so I'm going to play something from that tonight and in the next few shows as well. This is one of my favorites. I'd heard them do it live in concert many, many times, and I'm finally glad that it's on disc. This is called The Executive Washroom on The Brain Sandwich Show.
Sitting cheek to cheek. At the end of the meeting, we all get down on our knees till one of us jumps up and says,
"Excuse me, please."
In the executive washroom, we have such fun. We say the dirty word and chew the bubble gum. Or we do all the things that they don't want us to do. If you play a little game, we have a key for you. Oh, we can phone while we sit, or we can phone while we stand. And we can watch the electric dryer dry our lily white hand. At the push of the button, we get cologne in our face. And if we make a mess, we don't have to clean up the place. In the executive washroom, we have such fun. We say the dirty word and chew the bubble gum. Or we do all the things that they don't want us to do. If you play a little game, we have a key for you. Cigars that we puff, but underneath the surface, we're just like you. We stand up for number 1 and sit for number 2. In the executive washroom, we have such fun. We say the dirty word and chew the bubble gum. Oh, we do all the things that they don't want us to do. If you play a little game, we have a key for you. In the executive washroom, we have such fun. We say the dirty word and chew the double bubble gum. Oh, we do all the things that they don't want us to do. If you play a little game, well, if you play a little game, well, if you play a little game, we have a key for you.
If you have a clogged sink or a backed up commode, then you need to call a plumber with
Butt crack,
yeah, butt crack.
I'm flushing down a gigantic subway.
Southwest cheesesteak.
But it's looking like it won't go away. It's coming back up, no, go away.
I got me a toolbox and a big plastic pail. When I bend over, you get butt crack, okay? I got me a plunger, and I'll fix you up, honey. So call me up and pay me union money. Yeah, butt crack, baby. Butt, baby. That's where it's at. Butt, baby. That's my two-pack. Plunging and a splishin', splashing and a plunging, wearing big old jeans that are covering nothing. His whole back shimmies. Yeah, that old crack shimmies. Yeah, his whole back shimmies, and his big old booty's moving around and around and around and around.
Everyone is swooning, hey, that plumber's mooning, baby.
Folks passing out, cause he's got his pants down.
My neighbor's prosecuting for gluteus polluting, baby.
Funky little crack. That's my trouser trench. Yeah, let's see, that's snake out to the street, city of sewage insurance, snake feeding fee, remove sink trap, bondo, ace bandage, let's see, that's gonna come to $876.22. Is that gonna be cash or? Check out his cleavage, check out his tail like a hairy old whale. I'll hop in my van and clean out your plumbing. You stare at my twins, Cheeky and Spongy.
It's a vertical face that you can't forget, no, never. Butt crack, baby.
Butt crack, baby. Yeah, butt. That's where it's at. Hey, do these pants make me look fat? Listen, lady, just for your future reference, you're not supposed to flush these, feminine products. See, now I gotta crawl down under here and dig out all these. Oh man, what a mess. Oh yeah.
Where's your belt, baby?
Look a little harder, baby.
Where's your suspenders, baby?
I can't hear you.
Where's your pride, baby?
Hey, I can't help you, okay?
No more, baby.
Look a little harder.
Don't show no more, baby.
Hey, do I make you horny? He'll show you more. Continental divide, baby. That's my butt.
Oh, God! Gonna be sick. Excuse me.
Butt, baby, like a big hairy yak. Butt, baby, this plumber got back. Plumbing is so bitchin' when you get to show your nasty little butt crack. You know, tipping is encouraged, okay?
Butt Crack by our friend Steve Goody, and before that, the Colon Sphincter Band with the Executive Washroom. Kind of goes hand in hand, don't you think? And you can contact Steve directly at stevegoody.com. That's GOODIE.com. And for the Colon Sphincter Band, at least for the interim, you can contact them through me at brainboys@AOL.com while they're getting set up to be a bigger internet presence than they already are. So as you know, by now, if you follow this, I'm a real big fan of the instructional records. So here's one on masturbation tips on the Brain Sandwich Show.
Hello, and thank you for calling Health Extension, brought to you by York Health System Auxiliary.
We're glad you called us for information about masturbation. It's a subject many people feel uncomfortable with and don't talk about. Masturbation is touching and handling your sex organs in a way that creates pleasurable sexual feelings. Doesn't make you go crazy or blind, give you zits, put hair on your palms, warts on your hands, or make you sterile or weak. A lot of these old stories are still around, even though today we know that masturbation is not physically harmful. In fact, masturbation is a normal and natural sexual practice for both males and females. It's very common among kids aged 3 to 6 and among young people. Some figures show that as many as 90% of the total male population masturbates, as does 35 to 65% of the total female population. No matter what people say about it, they do masturbate. Masturbation during the teen years is not only normal and natural, but very common. In early adolescence, certain hormone changes take place in your body, and you start feeling physical tension, primarily in the sex organs. This tension builds up, and you can feel very uncomfortable until you find a way to release it. Masturbating is a natural way to release this tension. It's an outlet for the strong sexual urges that develop during early adolescence, especially among boys. For most young people, masturbating is a good and safe substitute for having sex with another person. Masturbation isn't physically harmful, but if you masturbate and are afraid it will create problems for you or feel guilty about what you're doing, it can be psychologically harmful. Thus, masturbating doesn't mess up your body, but if you feel guilty and anxious about it, it could mess up your head. Only you can decide if the physical pleasure is worth the psychological hassle. Some people feel masturbation is okay for them as long as they don't overdo it. This brings up the question, well, how much is too much? It becomes something to worry about when it develops into the main interest and activity of your life. If you don't develop any normal friendships or don't have a social life, but instead spend all of your spare time alone masturbating, it may indicate a serious problem. The problem, however, is not masturbation, but lack of social development. It's like watching television or eating. That's all you do. It shows you're having problems dealing with other parts of your life. Now, we'd like to discuss two more things about masturbation. One is fantasies or daydreams you may have while doing it, and the other is a warning against using certain kinds of objects. First, fantasies. Many people have sexual thoughts about all sorts of things while they're masturbating. They may feel guilty about these thoughts or afraid of them. Whatever these fantasies are, it's important to remember they're nothing to feel guilty or afraid of. They're only daydreams. Strong sexual urges help create them. Now, the warning about masturbating with certain items. Most people, males and females, use their hands to stimulate themselves. This is a safe way to masturbate. However, some people choose to use objects. Women, for example, may put objects shaped like a penis into their vaginas. Men may use a round object like a toilet paper tube. These objects are dirty, and infection could result. Sometimes males try putting something into the end of the penis. This is dangerous because it could carry germs inside and cause infection, or could get pushed too far inside and have to be removed through surgery. Or females sometimes use bottles. This is also dangerous. The bottle can create a vacuum in the vagina and get stuck. If this happens, only a doctor can remove it. We'd like to repeat that hand stimulation is the safest way to masturbate. You'll probably hear a lot of dumb and scary things about masturbation from people who just don't know the facts. Remember the things we've discussed, especially the part about masturbation not hurting you physically unless it's done with unclean or unsafe objects. We hope the information we've given you will help you understand and accept this normal and natural sexual urge. If you'd like to talk further about masturbation, you may want to talk to your family doctor, pediatrician, nurse practitioner, or school nurse. Thank you.
Thank you for calling.
Zeg, weet je nog die zaterdag dat ik je op het water zag? Je zat in de boot bij de jongen van Van Dam. Oh, ik dacht, wat voel ik in mijn hoofd? Alsof ik van mijn verstand ben beroofd. Ik wist, ik ben je helemaal kwijt voor goed. Ja, ze nemen me eindelijk mee. Haha, ze nemen me eindelijk mee. Ho, ho, hi, hi, haha. Naar het einde huis waar geen radio's zijn. En dus geen Beatles en ook geen Stones. Wel schommels, maar dat vind ik juist zo fijn. Dat fietsmannen in jullie witte jas. Ze nemen me eindelijk mee. Haha. Je lacht je rot, ik zie het wel. Je denkt, dit is een grap, jawel. Maar het is niet zo, ik ben alleen verknipt. Oh, je lacht erom, ik hoor dat je lacht. Je lacht, je giert, je brult, je wacht. Zolang tot je zeker weet dat ik verdwijn. Niet? Ze nemen me eindelijk mee. Haha, ze nemen me eindelijk mee. Ho, ho, hi, hi, haha. Waar de bloemetjes zijn en die vijver met visjes. En daarom vind ik het zo fijn dat ze daar bij de deur op me staan te wachten. Ze nemen me eindelijk mee. Haha. De zusters stoppen me eerst in bad. Ik heb nog nooit zo'n lol gehad. Ze trekken me een schone dwangbuis aan. Ah, ik wou dat ik een spiegel had. Dan kon ik zien wat ik aan had. Die dwangbuis staat me zo geweldig goed. Hè? Ze nemen me eindelijk mee. Haha, ze nemen nemen me eindelijk mee. Ho, ho, hi, hi, ha, ha. Naar het eindehuis waar bloemetjes zijn en vogeltjes en een vijvertje met visjes. En die mannen met hun schone witte jassen aan. Ze nemen me eindelijk mee, ha, ha. Naar het eindehuis waar bloemetjes zijn en vogeltjes en vijvertjes en bijtjes. En van die mannen met schone witte jassen aan. Ha, ha. Ze nemen me eindelijk mee, ja, ja. Ha, ha. Naar het eindehuis waar bloemetjes zijn en vogeltjes.
The Swedish version of They're Coming to Take Me Away. You might not have heard that before, I guess. And then before that was Masturbation Tips, and I learned a few things, even though I thought I had that firmly well in hand. Okay, here is something that I just got a hold of. I was very fond of playing stuff by Dickie Goodman, who did the Mr. Jaws and the Flying Saucer records that people know. This is something that you may not know he did. This was quite X-rated. I was kind of surprised to find this, but he did an album of, I guess, of TV parodies, and this is called The Screwlywed Game on the Brain Sandwich Show.
Welcome to the Screwlywed Game. All right, gentlemen, what do you think your wife will say was the very first time you made her come? Bill?
Well, the first time I made her come was at the supermarket, behind the vegetable counter, when I shoved a carrot up her cunt.
Okay, doesn't sound very romantic, but certainly imaginative. Jim?
Well, I don't know if you could count this, but one day we were in a pet shop, and she climbed into one of the kennels and started jerking off a poodle. Well, while she was jerking off the poodle, I got a big German Shepherd to fuck with.
I'll allow that. That's really puppy love. John?
The very first time I made my wife come was when I touched her arm.
You made your wife come when you touched her arm? I'd love to see what happens when you touch her leg.
You sure would, Bob. Just touch her leg and she'll fuck anything that moves. I remember one time when she was cleaning the house. I brushed up against her and pow! The vacuum cleaner was gone. Right up her cunt. Blew every fuse in the fucking building.
I hate making wild guesses, but I think your wife is an nymphomaniac. What did the doctor say?
Last thing he said was, help!
I know, pow, right up her cunt. Bob?
Well, the first time I made my wife come was on our honeymoon. I had gone out for a minute, and when I came back, she was sucking the bell captain's cock. So I just jumped right in and fucked her from behind.
Well, Bob, we've got the same name, and that's pretty much the way I first made my wife come. Okay, now it's time to compare answers and see what the wives will say was the very first time their husbands made them come. So let's bring them in. Okay, Sally?
The first time Bill made me come was behind the vegetable counter at the supermarket when he shoved a celery up my cunt.
Bill said at the supermarket with a carrot.
No, you fucked me with the celery because you said the price of carrots was too high.
I did not. It was a carrot. I'd only want the very best for my wife.
It was celery because you even called me a cheap fuck.
All right, Mary.
Well, the first time John made me come was...
Hold it. John is husband number 3. You're married to Jim, remember?
Oh, well, first time Jim made me come was pretty good, too. We were watching a fire, and he grabbed one of the fire hoses and squirted the water up my cunt.
Jim said when he got a German Shepherd dog to fuck you.
Sure. Don't you remember fucking that dog?
That was later in the day. In the morning, you squirted the fire hose up me.
Fire hose my ass.
That was the next day.
Okay, Lucy.
Well, Bob, you see, I'm kind of a nymphomaniac, and I'd really love to fuck you and make you come.
After the show, right now, we'd like to know what was the very first time your husband made you come?
Oh, that's easy. Just like everyone else, when he touched my arm.
John said when he touched your arm. So you've got 5 points. Betty?
Well, to tell you the truth, that prick never made me come.
Bob said when you were sucking the bell captain's cock and he jumped in and fucked you.
You never made me come, you dumb asshole. I only faked this so you get the fuck off me.
Who cares? I just wanted to watch you sucking a prick while I was fucking you because that's the only way I can come.
Well, our winner is couple number 3, John and Lucy. And we have a grand prize especially for you, the world's largest vibrator. Suitable for 1 or 100. For those big fucking occasions from the Screwlywed game.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was another payday. I was tired of being a Mr. Goodbar. So when I saw Ms. Hershey standing behind the powerhouse on the corner of Clark and Fifth Avenue, I whipped out my whopper and whispered, "Hey, sweetheart, how'd you like to crunch in my big hunk for $1 million bar?" Well, she immediately went down on my Tootsie Roll, and you know, it was like pure almond joy. I couldn't help but grab her delicious mounds, 'cause it was easy to see that this little Twix had the red hots. It was all I could do to hold back a snicker and a crackle as my Butterfinger went up her tight little Kit Kat and she started to scream, "Oh, Henry! Oh, Henry!" Soon she was fondling my Peter Paul and Zagnuts, and I knew it wouldn't be long before I blew my milk duds clear to Mars and gave her a taste of the old Milky Way. She asked if I was into M&M's. I said, "Hey, chicklet, no kinky stuff." I said, "Look, you little Reese piece, don't be a zero, be a lifesaver. Why don't you just take my whatchamacallit and slip it up your bit of honey?" Ooh, what a piece of juicy fruit she was, too. She screamed, "Oh, Crackerjack, you're better than the Three Musketeers!" as I rammed my ding-dong up her rocky road and into her peanut butter cup. Well, I was giving it to her good and plenty when all of a sudden, my star burst. Yeah, as luck would have it, she started to grow a bit chunky and complained of a wriggly in her stomach. Sure enough, 9 months later, out popped a baby Ruth.
Somebody calling themselves Sticky Fingers. I believe they were a duo called Bird and McDonald, but they, under this particular record, they called themselves Sticky Fingers. It was called Candy Rapper, R-A-P-P-E-R. Before that, Dickie Goodman with the Screwlywed game. I'm hoping to find more stuff like this. Not necessarily because of the adult content, but because I was a Dickie Goodman fan for a long, long time. And some of this stuff is really new to me. Okay, let's get to All-Time Great Bloopers, Volume 6. Now, this is the last in the series with that title, All-Time Great Bloopers. And we have one called The Best of Bloopers, which I'll probably do, a few podcasts from now, just to break it up a little bit. But I wanted to give you the last one in the series. And, of course, this is Kermit Schaefer's famous blooper series. And I hope you'll enjoy it. Here it is on The Brain Sandwich Show.
We now take you to the BBC in England.
Now, children, let's take a look at some of the famous architecture we have here in London. Here, for instance, is a picture of Westminster Bridge. This bridge, as you know, is still standing today, as it has for many years. In fact, Queen Victoria herself was seen by thousands of people pissing over this very bridge on her way to Buckingham Palace. That should be passing over this bridge, of course.
We open today's program of religious music with the inspiring hymn, "The Lord Shall Lead His Flock of Sheep," as sung by the Mormon Tabernacle Moron Tabernacle Choir.
Stay tuned for Fulton Lewis Jr. and the Jews. I mean Fulton Lewis Jr. and the news. And now, Mr. Jr. Oh, God. Oh, jeez.
Many beauty pageant winners have ambitions to work in broadcasting. Some of them possess the natural talents needed to gain success, and some of them don't. Here is one such aspiring beauty doing her best as a commentator.
This afternoon, here in Atlantic City, we have ladies representing every state in the Union. 48 beautiful girls in their swimsuits, ready to take pictures on the boardwalk at the seashore, on the boardwalk at the seashore, on the boardwalk at the seashore here in Atlantic City.
Tell me, Coach, do you find the Chicago Bears have very complicated plays?
I've talked to some of their defensive players, and they're all pretty simple.
When broadcast performers get the giggles, they sometimes become uncontrollable, such as the several Lowell Thomas breakups contained in past blooper albums. Here is a classic incident where popular personality Cedric Adams, known to millions as Mr. Radio, became the victim of a breakup.
Northern States Power Company presents Cedric Adams, your roving reporter in
your hometown. Oh, Christ.
You started it, Adam.
I never did.
Yes. All right.
This is Stuker's overtime.
Northern States. Don't look up.
Oh, where the hell do you want me to look?
Stop. Why don't you shut up for a second?
I haven't said a word.
No, you don't have to. If you'd say a few words, it'd be better. Gee, that's really awful when you hear a jerk cabin, you know?
God. How did this start, anyway?
You started it.
I never did. Did I, Mac? Your hometown. Three Bentley words are the worst ones in the whole world. Oh, dear. You got quite a lot to say there.
Northern States Power Company presents Cedric Adams, your roving reporter in...
It wasn't my fault, John. I know. Oh, God. I'll come down tomorrow morning, I'm sure.
Tensions ran high in New York City today as thousands of city policemen were on duty to prevent any outbreaks as a result of the visit of the Arab leader Yasser Arafat. Or should that be Yasser Arafat? Don't pronounce that right.
Let's Make a Deal is one of TV's most popular shows. During the course of the program, a question is asked of a contestant who is supposed to say that he watches Let's Make a Deal every Saturday night. However, this was his surprising reply.
Let's make a deal. What happens every Saturday night at 7:30?
I take a bath.
To continue on with the music of the Night Train show, we dig into the past to bring out an old blues standard, I've Got a Crush on You. And here to sing it, the Queen of the Blues, Miss Dinah Washington. I'm sorry, Miss Washington. Queen of the Blues, that should be.
Late-night talk shows often result in some strange conversations since anyone is permitted to phone in. This caller was discussing musical instruments with the telephone talk master.
Everybody knows you're 9 feet tall. Only girl in town who can play the organ from the bedroom.
Oh, boy, you haven't seen my organ. I've got a swell organ over here at my house.
Yeah?
Would you like to come over here and try my organ?
Yeah?
Or else you could invite me over to your place and I could play on your organ.
Fine.
Viewers who were watching the conservative BBC in England were startled to hear this pompous commentator, who was describing the Queen's Royal Horse Artillery.
Millions are viewing this memorable and colorful event on television, as well as tens of thousands who have lined the streets here in London. The New Zealand contingent has just left Buckingham Palace. They will be followed by the Queen's Royal Horse Artillery. Oh, I beg your pardon, that should be Royal Horse Artillery.
Commercial announcers are always at the mercy of the copywriters at the advertising agency. Here is a sample piece of copy that resulted in embarrassment for this unsuspecting female announcer.
So for holiday time, picnic time, for the whole family, try Rosedale's monthly flavor. Monthly flavor? Who the hell wrote this? Try Rosedale's flavor of the month.
The on-the-scene excitement of fast-breaking news stories resulted in a disaster for this newscaster at the scene of a fire.
All available firefighting equipment will be called out.
When laymen are given the responsibility of broadcasting on the air, they are usually very nervous. They unconsciously attempt to cover up their nervousness by laughing. Here is the Coast Guard at this point.
Go ahead anytime, Ron.
Coast Guard Air and Sea units continue to search for a man missing overboard from the fishing vessel Master Lee. 27-year-old Walter Wield. Let me start that over again. His name is...
What are you guys drinking over there?
Yeah!
Go ahead.
Last night. Coast Guard Air and Sea units continue to search for a man missing overboard from the fishing vessel...
Go on.
Just a second. Let me give you to somebody else.
Okay. Right? Yeah, can you read it?
Yeah, I think I can.
Okay. Go ahead anytime.
Coast Guard Air and Sea units continue to search for a man missing overboard from the ill-fated Birmingham...
You got the laughies over there.
Wait a minute.
Hey, take her again, anything.
Okay.
Or anything.
No.
Go anytime.
Coast Guard Air and Sea... Coast... Coast Guard Air and Sea units continue to... this is no good.
We're still rolling.
Can you, all right. Coast Guard Air and Sea units continue to search for a man missing.
This is hilarious.
Give me 5
I hope
minutes.
you guys ain't searching for me when I'm overboard.
And fellas, when you stop in at Barney's Men's Store, be sure to see those beautiful Gabardine seats.
This is Alan Courtney speaking. Don't forget tonight at 9, our special guest will be... I forgot.
The Viet Cong delegation at the Paris peace talks reacted predictably to President Nixon's forthcoming trip to Peking. The delegation said that Paris is the only place that President Nixon can find a peace.
The public doesn't always understand the necessity for complete privacy required by broadcasters. If the on-the-air sign is ignored by well-meaning friends or relatives, disruptions like this can occur.
The stock market is going back to worrying about inflation. At the bell, the Dow Industrial Average stood at 983.59, up 4.36. Both the transportation and utility averages also showed modest gains. What? Yeah. Oh, Donna. Donna, I'm in the middle of Christ. What was the telephone? What was the... Come here, Donna. God damn it. I'm sorry I have to do this over.
We take you now for the ballcast broad game.
News wire service copywriters are commonly the perpetrators of bloopers, which are read verbatim off the teletype by unsuspecting newscasters.
Mr. Kissinger, who's awaiting confirmation as Secretary of State, seems to be very well qualified. He's obviously a man of sound judgment and intelligence. Mr. Kissinger is not married.
We'll return to our midday movie matinee, The Blackboard Jungle, starring Sal Mineo, right after this menopause. Pause.
Sports interviews which emanate direct and live from the winning team's locker room are fraught with danger due to the emotional excitement of the victors.
How's it feel to be the World Series winner?
It's a fantastic feeling. Not so much for myself, but for the rest of the fucking guys.
Let's turn back the clock to those thrilling days of yesteryear and hear this memorable line from the Lone Ranger.
Hey there, Pete. What are we going to do with this here stagecoach? I don't know, George. Hey, listen. I hear a white horse coming. Hey, that's a great line. I wonder who wrote that.
A newscaster encounters many pressures in the hectic preparation of a daily newscast. He can be forgiven if he had one too many just before airtime. Here is an announcer who was feeling no pain.
NBC Radio News on the Hour.
The news in brief, arsonists attempting eventually to avenge the assassination of Negro extremist Malcolm X hit headquarters of Muslim headquarters at opposite ends of the country today. The Harlem headquarters were destroyed, as was a mosque in San Francisco on the West Coast.
The women's liberation movement has resulted in a greater number of female broadcasters being employed on radio and television. Unfortunately, not all those accepted have the talent required.
President Nixon returned today from a long vacation in Florida. Oh, I beg your pardon. President Ford just returned today from a long vacation in Florida in which he was at the Jackie Gleason Inverary Classic with Jackie Gleason, Bob Hope, Jack Nicklaus, and many other celebrities, and apparently the Florida vacation did him a lot of good. Ford returned looking fanned and tanned and fit.
Some performers are frustrated writers. They feel that they can improve upon material assigned to them. Here is the case in point where a commercial announcer delivered this parody created by an anonymous prankster.
New York City. It's still a hell of a town. At New York Telephone, we know getting a malicious or obscene phone call can really piss you off. If you get such a call, fuck it. Hang up immediately. In most instances, that's enough to stop the caller from becoming a pain in the ass. Too often, though, people unwittingly encourage the caller by talking back. Don't be a prick. You can't argue with a sick mind, so don't try. If hanging up quickly doesn't work, for shit's sake, don't panic. Just call our business office. You'll find the number in the front of your telephone directory. In persistent cases, our annoyance call bureau takes over to try and trap the fucker. Working with the police, our annoyance call bureau has been responsible for 844 arrests and 54 abortions. And offenders have learned that a 10-cent phone call can cost them as much as $1,000 and jam their ass in prison for a year. At New York Telephone, we're in business to give you service. And part of our obligation is to see to it that no motherfucker abuses that service. After all, the service we give you is obscene enough.
New York Telephone.
Tonight, CBS Report brings viewers an in-depth interview with Illinois' lawmaker Howard Baker, who will discuss the water great Bacon.
Fast-talking sports commentators bring mountains of statistics to the sports fans. However, they often trip themselves up in the maze of fast-changing scores.
But the Bucks, of course, had the 19-point lead and could afford to play a little bit cautiously. However, they did put the ball up 24 times, but hit on just one-third of those shots, 8 out of 24 in the fourth quarter, while the Pistons got hot and hit it better than 53% on 14 out of 26.
For you listeners who missed it, let's have an instant replay.
But the Bucks, of course, had the 19-point lead and could afford to play a little bit cautiously. However, they did put the ball up 24 times, but hit on just one-third of those shots, 8 out of 24 in the fourth quarter, while the Pistons got hot and hit it better than 53% on 14 out of 26.
One of radio's most popular programs of yesteryear was the Cisco Kid. The actors on the program had been known on occasion to put on their fellow performers. The following bit of mischief was attributed to Pancho, who pulled the leg of an unsuspecting cast member on the show.
Cisco.
See, Pancho.
Senator Healy finally get that canyon surveyed, huh?
See, I understand the government plans to build a dam and a reservoir there, within the next few years.
Oh, damn, that's a very bad word. But that is very good. Will be plenty of water for the peoples. Now those bandidos in the jail and they not can steal it.
See, Chico. How did you like what?
And only that wine made my asshole burn. Pancho used to work for Marsilio.
You never told me that, Pancho.
Oh, see, Pancho worked for Gonzales 1 week.
Only 1 week? Why no more than that?
Well, it's like this, Cisco. Pancho asked Gonzales for a raise.
After only a week, you asked for a raise?
See?
Was Gonzales angry?
No, Cisco. Gonzales was just like a lamb.
Just like a lamb, huh? What did he say?
He say...
We're more little lambs.
Our late sports wrap-up continues, and now turning to basketball. West Virginia State 69. That should be West Virginia State, West Virginia State, and Auburn 69 and Auburn 55.
Mary, you don't realize just how much I've missed you these past several months. My nights were lonely without you, my love. Oh, it's so good to be home.
We now take you to the BBC in England.
Here's a rundown of this afternoon's programs on BBC One. At 12 noon, we'll have the news, followed by our feature film, Brief Encounter with Trevor Howard. Then at 3:30 from Manchester, we bring you the World Cup Soccer match. Oh, Lord, the World Cup Soccer match. From Manchester.
And on his way to the Vietnam peace talks, Dr. Henry Kissinger made a stopover in Hawaii, where an attractive island girl gave him a lei. L-E-I, that is.
Well, friends, you've been listening to the Top 50, and now you can win a record album if you call me. I'll be taking the 5th caller, so stick your finger in the operator's hole at the telephone hole marked operator, that is, and call in now.
Now the news at this hour. Where the hell is the news?
Hey, you guys, where's the news?
And now back to Art Linkletter.
You have any pets?
Yes, a cat and a dog.
Oh, do they have pedigrees?
No, we took them out.
What do you think a pedigree is?
Please.
Please. You have a dog or a cat?
Yeah.
What?
A dog.
What kind of a dog?
Part cocker and part fox terrier.
Mm-hmm. Pedigree?
Yeah.
Does it have a pedigree?
Yeah.
How do you know?
It goes over to another dog's house named Shadow.
You know what a pedigree is?
Yeah.
What's a pedigree?
A girlfriend.
Madam, our next question is worth $50. Are you ready, madam?
I wish you wouldn't keep calling me madam. Where I come from, that indicates someone that runs a house of ill repute.
Oh, really, madam?
And for the best in relief of arthritis, bursitis, and rheumatism, use unguentine ointment to extinguish the pain. For more inflammation, read the label.
Or I might take you back.
Now here's another million seller, sung by the very popular Urethra Franklin. Oops, wrong channel.
The category for this jackpot question is famous mountain ranges.
And now, for $10,000, the last question. Could you tell me where the Urals are located?
You mean the ones we guys go to?
During a coast-to-coast broadcast of the Metropolitan Opera on ABC, Lauritz Melchior, the distinguished Wagnerian tenor, was singing the lead role in Lohengrin. In the last act, he was supposed to leave the stage in a boat drawn by swans. However, the swans missed the cue of the stage crew and left the stage while Melchior was still singing. In complete calm, he turned to his fellow performers and said, "Does anybody know what time does the next swan leave?" And it's my prediction, sports fans, that Mickey Redmond will not score those 50 goals in 3 straight seasons. He'll have surgery performed for a ruptured disc. A couple of kids were playing a game on the Bozo the Clown television show in which a ping-pong ball is blown across a table. The TV camera was focused on the action. During the game, a youngster kept standing in front of the table, making it impossible to watch the game. Bozo turned to the child and said,
"Hey there, kid, that's a bozo no-no. Now sit down."
Aw, fuck off, clown.
This concludes another in the continuing series of recorded bloopers. Until we meet again, this is your narrator, leaving you with the immortal words of Alexander Pope, who said, "To err is human, to forgive divine."
That was the 6th and final volume of all-time great bloopers, and I've been wanting to play those for years on the radio, but it was too difficult to try and get around some of the language, because if I had to cut it, in some cases I'd be cutting out what's funny about it. So, thank God for podcasting, huh? All right, let's move along. Here is Pancho the Parrot with "I Left My Heart in San Francisco" on the St. Louis Brain Sandwich Show.
The loveliness of Paris seems somehow sadly gay. The glory that was Rome is of another day. I've been terribly alone and forgotten in Manhattan. I'm going home to my city by the bay.
Telethon. Telethon. Telethon.
1926, New Jersey, March 16th. Jerry Lewis is born in Newark. 1946, at the age of 20, Jerry Lewis meets Dean Martin for the first time. 1949, Martin and Lewis star in their first film, My Friend Irma. 1956, Martin and Lewis release Hollywood or Bust, then split up. 1963, on his own, Lewis stars in The Nutty Professor. 1973, Lewis chooses Las Vegas as the home for the MDA telethons. Labor Day, 3 years later, Frank Sinatra reunites Martin and Lewis live on the telethon. In 1986, for no apparent reason, Mike Elliott and Bud LaTorre record Rock Me Jerry Lewis! Rock Me Jerry Lewis! Jerry!
Mike and Bud with Rock Me Jerry Lewis, and we started out with Pancho the Parrot and I Left My Heart in San Francisco. And where did he leave his beak, I wonder? It's time to do Chapter 6 of the serial we've been doing in the Adventures by Morse series called Dead Men Prowl. I hope that by now you are anxiously awaiting each chapter, because I'm going to keep doing it until the end, until we get at least through this one, and then I'll see how it goes. See what kind of reaction I get from the listeners who download the shows here. And I hope that that you'll continue to let me do this, because this is wonderful stuff, and it helps me fill time, too. So without further ado, here's Chapter 6, Dead Men Prowl, on the Brain Sandwich Show.
Adventures by Morse. Carlton E. Morse presents Dead Men Prowl, featuring Captain Friday.
If you like high adventure, come with me. If you like the stealth of intrigue, come with me. If you like blood and thunder, come with me.
Three men died violent deaths in Holman: Doc Sims, Andrew Walters, and Rich Hartley's half-wit son. These tragedies brought four young people to the village across the bay from San Francisco. First to arrive were Carmel and Andres Ruiz, cousins. They were niece and nephew of Andrew Walters. Then came Gail Stanley and her brother Martin, niece and nephew of Doc Sims. Captain Friday, who had a summer home in Holman, took the four under his wing, and with the aid of his weekend guest, Dr. Jamie Croft, endeavored to untangle the mystery behind the three murders. But let Captain Friday tell it.
Each of the three bodies in the village morgue has taken it upon itself to prowl around or disappear altogether from time to time. When Dr. Croft, young Martin Stanley, and I searched Doc Sims' house, two of the bodies were missing, that of Doc Sims and that of the half-wit Hartley boy. Doc Sims' body was found after an attempt was made to murder Stanley. I tied Doc Sims' body on a sleeping cot and locked it in a room. Next, we searched Andy Walters' house. Along with Carmel and Andres Ruiz, I was upstairs in the room where Andrew Walters died. Gail and Martin Stanley were waiting downstairs. Dr. Croft had left the house to examine Doc Sims' body. Suddenly, there was a warning cry, the sound of a shot, and two figures hurtled and rolled down the full length of the stairway.
A few minutes later, Captain Friday had gathered the entire group in the living room of his summer cottage.
Now, look here. I want everyone to stick close to my cottage from now on. No one's to go near Doc Sims or Andy Walter's house without my permission. Is that clear?
Si, Senor Friday. But please, could we not have more fire? See how my cousin Carmel, she is shake.
No, I'm not cold. Just that I can't forget that you might have been killed, Andre.
Oh, it is nothing. It did not hit me.
See here, Captain, I suggest we stir up the fire and all gather around and talk this thing out. I'll admit I'm pretty badly shaken myself, rolling down those stairs with a murdered man in my arms. Boo.
Okay, come on, Andres. We'll go out and bring in a couple of big chunks of rootwood. I thought we'd get sunshine today, but the fog seems to be hanging on.
It's almost like night. It's so foggy.
See here, Miss Stanley, what's wrong with you? You haven't said a word since we left Andrew Walter's house and returned here. White as a ghost. What is it?
Well, it's all pretty terrible, isn't it?
Terrible? Of course it's bad, but you're making entirely too much of it.
Well, I didn't realize what we were up against, Dr. Croft, until I saw the stark, dead body of that murdered Hartley boy lying there.
Oh, it was bad.
I didn't realize until I saw his dead body and knew that somehow it had come alive. That dead body had held a gun and tried to kill one of us.
Well, now you know how I felt, sis, when Doc Sims, my own uncle, took a shot at me.
Yes, I know, Martin.
I'm getting sick of it. There's no use of us standing around and getting our heads shot off. Let's go back to the city and hire a lawyer to clear up this mess.
But, Martin, we haven't any money to hire a lawyer.
We could borrow on Doc Sims' estate, I'll bet. After all, it's ours.
I'm afraid you won't be able to leave Holman without Captain Friday's permission.
Nuts to Captain Friday.
Well, I suggest you talk to him. Here he comes now.
Can we get through the door with it? Attaboy, Andres.
Oh, this is fine big stump of wood.
All right. Got a good hold?
See?
Now let's toss it in the fireplace.
Mm-hmm.
1, 2, 3. Yeah, there she goes. Yeah, there's your fire, Dr. Croft. Now then, is everybody settled for a talk?
Before we begin, Captain, I think young Stanley here has a question.
Yeah? Gail and I are going back to San Francisco and get a lawyer to take care of this.
No, you're not, Stanley.
Who's going to stop us?
I am. I happen to be constable of Holman now, and I'm holding all of you until we can get this thing cleared up.
You haven't any right. We'll all be killed. Somebody's tried twice now.
Now, look here, Stanley. This goes all for the rest of you. I suggest you forget about pulling out for a while and sit and listen. I've been looking over these papers we picked up at Doc Sims and Walter's houses. But first, I want to ask some questions.
What questions?
Before this last attack, let's just review where each of us was. Now, Dr. Croft here dropped in at Doc Sims' house down the street to see how the trussed-up body was doing. You see it, Doctor?
It was just as we left it, Captain, still tied to the cot.
Right. Now, Miss Stanley here and her brother were in Andrew Walter's study. You asked to be allowed to stay there while the rest of us went up to examine the death room.
Yes, that's right.
Stayed downstairs at your own request.
Well, you remember I told you I couldn't bear the sight of the room where a man was hanged.
Yes, I remember. Well, you two were in the study on the first floor. Carmel and Andres here and I went up to the second floor. We just started to examine the room when we heard Dr. Croft yell. What was it you yelled, Doctor?
I think I said, look out, Captain, look out.
Yeah. The next minute, there was a shot.
See, so close to me, I feel the air. It cut my face like sharp knife.
Close one, all right, Andres. And then the next thing we knew, Dr. Croft and a second person were rolling down the dark stairway together. I rushed down, and there was the doctor hanging onto the body of the murdered half-wit, the Hartley boy.
I'd never go in that house again for anything.
But look here, Doctor. How did you happen to take that tumble downstairs? What happened?
I don't know. As soon as I'd seen that Doc Sims' body was safe, I locked up and I came right over to join you at the Walters' house. I let myself in, and everything was quiet on the first floor.
Yes, we had the door to the study closed. We were just sitting there waiting.
Yes, I heard voices upstairs and I started up. It was quite dark, and suddenly I saw a figure between me and the doorway. All I could see was his outline. And I started to speak when it crouched.
It was alive?
Yeah. And I saw the glitter of a gun. I couldn't see into the room, but he was tense. He was about to fire at someone. That's when I yelled, and I rushed up the stairs at him.
Yeah. Did he attack you, Doctor?
No, I don't think so. He just seemed to give way in my hands. You see, it all happened so quickly. I grabbed him, and we tumbled downstairs together.
And when I opened the study door and saw what was lying at the foot of the stairs...
Yes, I know. Any opinions, Doctor?
Well, frankly, Captain, I never had such a shock in my life. I don't understand it. There he was in the doorway, apparently alive. And by the time we reached the bottom of the steps, it was the stiff, cold corpse of the murdered Hartley boy.
Dr. Croft, if you and I hadn't been friends for the last couple of years...
Yes, I know, Captain. I'd say the same. There's something strange in that house.
Well, stranger than what happened in Doc Sims' house. The corpse walks in, takes a shot at Stanley here, and clubs me over the head, walks out under his own power, and then once out of our sight, he collapses into nothing more than a corpse.
Did you find Doc Sims' will?
Yes, I have it here.
Where was it?
In the coat pocket of the corpse.
But how
He'd evidently come alive long enough to take it away from us, and then he fell dead on his way to hide it.
I don't believe it.
Well, I don't either. What else are you going to believe?
Captain, in all the history of medicine, this situation has no precedent. Bodies simply do not repossess themselves of life once they become dead flesh.
That's what I thought, too.
Captain, now, since you have in your possession the wills of Sims and Walters, it appears to me that if they contain any information concerning this business, now is the time to bring them out.
There's plenty in them, all right. Plenty to give everybody a jolt.
There is something bad?
I'll let you decide that for yourself. Before I read the wills, though, I'm going to read a copy of a letter that Doc Sims sent to Andrew Walters shortly before Walters hanged himself. How long before, we don't know. Dr. Croft and Martin Stanley have already heard it. Let's see. Andrew Walters, this is to inform you that I, Dr. C.N. Sims, have discovered your real identity as well as enough of your background and history to make your presence in this community undesirable. Unless you are willing to come to such terms as I see fit to impose, I shall at once reveal your identity and turn you over to the proper authorities, which, of course, you realize means nothing less than the gas chamber.
It is not true. My Uncle Andrew Walters is good man. This letter is big lie.
Now, hang on to yourself, Andres.
If this Doc Sims man was alive, I would make him eat these words.
Yeah, well, maybe you would, but sit down and hear the rest.
Oh, why would they want to execute our uncle?
Sounds like murder.
Oh, he wouldn't. He didn't.
Well, I didn't know that Doc Sims and Mr. Walters were enemies.
So, looks like we inherit some kind of a fight.
You would be borrowing trouble, Stanley.
Please. We aren't going to be enemies.
Oh, of course not, Carmel. The fight ended with our uncle's death.
Maybe it did and maybe it didn't. Let's wait until we hear the whole story.
First, I'm going to read Doc Sims' will. It's short. All it says is, believing that I shall outlive my only sister, Gail Sims Stanley, I hereby do on this day bequeath all my personal and business property in equal parts to my niece, Gail Stanley, and my nephew, Martin Stanley. That's all except for the date.
Well, that's something like it. Nothing hard to understand about that.
Yeah, that's not the whole story. Wait until you hear what Andrew Walters has to say in his will.
Okay, but what's that got to do with Gail and me?
Plenty.
See here, Captain. Is all that his will?
That's right. Thought he was writing a book. It's his personal history.
You've read it?
Mm-hmm.
Then why not tell us the gist of it? We can each read the details at our leisure.
That's a good idea. That suit you, Carmel?
Oh, yes, of course.
How about it, Andres?
Please, you do what you wish.
Okay. Well, this is how it is. Andy Walters and Doc Sims were brothers.
Legs. Then you mean to say we four are cousins?
That's right.
But I do not see how it is
Say,
possible.
how do you get that way? How could a guy named Sims and one named Walters be brothers?
Because Andrew Walters is an assumed name.
I don't believe it.
You will when I finish.
Sounds like a most engaging tale.
Yeah. You see, according to Walter's story, there was quite a big family of Sims originally. There were 3 sisters. First, Bonnie Sims.
See, my mother. That was her maiden name.
Yes. Then came Gail, for whom you were named as Stanley, and Joyce, Carmel's mother.
But what about the brothers, Captain?
Well, here's the angle. Doc Sims was the eldest. Then came his brother, Andy Walters. His right name was Vance Sims.
But see here, Captain, why did Vance Sims change his name to Andrew Walters?
Now, just a moment, Doctor. That concerns another member of the family.
Another, eh?
Mm-hmm. Another boy, Franklin Sims.
Oh, 3 boys and 3 girls.
Well, what happened to him?
He was murdered 20 years ago.
Another murder in the family?
Santa Maria! Is the whole family to be wiped out?
On the barren coast of Marin County in the village of Holman, under a blanket of fog, sits Captain Friday's summer cottage. In the cottage is being unfolded the story of the Sims family, a story beginning generations ago, and today having its tragic effect on the living members. Captain Friday has just revealed that the two rich men of Holman, Doc Sims and Andrew Walters, were brothers, and therefore Gail and Martin Stanley and Andres and Carmel Ruiz are cousins.
Yes, there was still another member of the family, another brother named Franklin Sims.
3 brothers and 3 sisters.
Oh, what happened to him?
He was murdered 20 years ago.
Well, who did it?
Remember that letter I read to you at the beginning from Doc Sims to Walters? Something about, I shall reveal your true identity and turn you over to the proper authorities.
Andrew, please. Our Uncle Andrew did not kill his own brother.
Well, it happened in a peculiar way. You see, the 3 boys were on a sort of vacation together someplace in the Near East. Doc Sims was about 37 at the time, Walters around 35, and Franklin was only about, 22 or 3.
Quite a difference in ages, Captain.
Yes, well, there were the 3 girls in between, you know.
Yes.
Anyway, the 3 of them were in this little corner of the world when they got word that their father was dying, and he'd left the bulk of his fortune to Franklin.
Why, how unfair.
Well, Franklin was the fair-haired child. Anyway, according to the story in Andrew Walters' will here, he and Doc Sims went out and got thoroughly drunk. And when he came to the next morning, he was in a filthy jail charged with the murder of his brother, Franklin Sims.
Oh, but this is the most horrible thing to happen.
The next day, the father died. Sort of left things pretty neat for Doc Sims. One brother dead, and the other, Andrew Walters, had held for murder.
But didn't Doc Sims help his brother?
No, he turned against him. Left him to his fate. He came back to the United States and got himself appointed administrator for the entire estate.
A charming fellow.
Well, I don't blame him. A fellow that would murder his own brother.
But what became of Mr. Walters?
He broke jail and became a fugitive.
Oh, Andres, I guess we haven't a very nice family after all.
You know what I think? I think these Doc Sims' hands are not very clean.
What do you mean by that?
Well, I think maybe he knows more about Franklin's death.
You would think of that.
But how did he happen to come back here? Didn't Doc Sims recognize him?
Well, remember, that was 20 years ago. Walters says in his will that he made his way to Australia and under his assumed name went into the mining country. He made several rich strikes and finally, after about 10 years, came out a rich man.
A rich man, eh?
Mm-hmm. Plenty of money, but old and broken down. Nobody'd have recognized him for the fugitive, Vance Sims.
Well, then he came back unrecognized.
Yes. He worked a slick trick. The slickest I've heard in a long time. He wrote a deathbed testimonial under his own name of Vance Sims. He declared that during the 10 years he'd spent in the mines, he and his own alias, Andrew Walters, had been partners. And now that he was about to die, he desired that Walters should inherit everything that had been his. You see, this included his portion of the original Sims estate, which, through his office as administrator, Doc Sims was milking for himself. In other words, Vance Sims left everything to himself, as Andrew Walters.
Oh, now I begin to understand why Doc Sims was so unfriendly to us. He was cheating Mother out of her third of the estate. She was supposed to have a third after Franklin was killed, wasn't she?
Yes, she was. Doc Sims tricked her out of it.
Why, the
You
low-down...
don't think much of him now, do you, Stanley?
Leave me alone.
But see here, Captain. What did Van Sims do then, after he willed his property to Andrew Walters, his other self?
He grabbed a ship for San Francisco and came over here to Holman with the documents and stuck them in Doc Sims' face.
Beautiful.
Yes. Doc Sims almost frothed. He was mad and scared. His conscience was bothering him about the way he'd been administrating the estate. Besides, he couldn't forget that he'd beaten his sister out of her third.
He was in a bad spot, wasn't he?
Walters had him, and there wasn't anything for him to do but turn over Vance Sims' portion without a squawk.
But no wonder they were enemies.
Yeah. Wonder they lived in the same neighborhood 10 years without the lid blowing off.
Well, still, I don't understand. What made Doc Sims write that note threatening to turn Mr. Walters over to the police? And after all these years.
Oh, that's easy. Doc Sims was burned up about the whole business. He suspected there was something smelly about the affair, so he kept nosing around, writing letters to Australia, keeping his eyes and ears open. And finally, he got the straight dope on Walters.
Discovered he was really his brother, eh?
Mm-hmm. And wanted for murder.
And then Doc Sims wrote that note threatening Andrew Walters, the one you read to us.
That's right.
You think then, Captain, that upon receiving the note from Doc Sims, Walters went to his room and hanged himself?
That's what it looks like. Trapped after all these years of safety, you know how you'd feel. Settle down to spend the rest of your life in peace and quiet, and then suddenly find yourself facing the gas chamber.
Please, I can't bear to think of it.
Oh, it is deplorable.
The thing I can't figure out is, if Walters hanged himself, who cut him down? Well, somebody else was in on this thing.
You don't suppose Doc Sims cut him down before going out on the beach to die, do you?
Could have done it, but why?
Please, I have a confession.
Andres, you didn't...
Conscience bothering, huh? All right, Andres, out with it.
Please, you will try to understand why I have not told this before.
Well, what's on your mind? Did you kill Andy Walters?
No, I did not do that.
Well, you've got something on your conscience.
No, I will explain. When Carmel and I left you on the beach, we come to the house. My uncle was not in the study, so I leave Carmel alone, and I go upstairs to find him.
Yeah, and then what?
There I see my uncle hanging.
Oh, that's it, huh?
See, I am very much disturbed. I think maybe I can save him. I cut him down quick, and then I see he is dead.
And then what'd you do?
Well, then I remembered that I am his heir, and maybe somebody will think maybe I...
Yeah, afraid of being held for murder, so you kept your mouth shut.
Please, if I have been very wrong, I am sorry.
What do you think, Dr. Croft?
Obviously the lad's telling the truth, Captain.
Oh, please, senor, my gratitude.
Okay, Andres, we'll take your word for it. For now, anyway.
Thank you, Captain Friday.
Yeah, well, there you are. You four are cousins, Doc Sims and Andrew Walters, brothers. Walters hanged himself in despair. That much is cleared up, anyway.
Yeah, but what's that got to do with Doc Sims' dead body taking a pot shot at me? And the prowling body of the village halfwit trying to kill Andres?
Now, wait a minute. I didn't say I had a complete solution. Well, we don't even know who killed the halfwit, nor why the body of Andrew Walters, alias Vance Sims, came over here and tried to bury Gale alive.
Oh, please.
All I can see right now is that it looks like all the dead bodies in the neighborhood have conspired to get rid of you four.
Oh, please don't talk like that. At the convent, they always told us there was something sacred about being dead.
You're quite right, Carmel. You mustn't judge normal living and dying by what is taking place here in Holman.
But, senor, you have told us only the history of Andrew Walters. Now, does he not will his property to anyone?
Yeah, I'll read that part. It's short. Let's see. Oh, here it is. Appreciating the fact that my two sisters were unjustly cut off from the family by their marriages, I should like to recompense them if they are still alive, or their heirs if they are not, by equally dividing my entire estate between them.
Oh, my cousin, do you hear? Carmel, you are rich. Lands, money. Oh, you will have everything you wish.
Wait a minute, Andres. There's a little more. Now, listen. I wittingly leave the Stanley branch of the family out of my will, not from any antagonism, but because I know that Doc Sims is leaving everything to them to soothe his conscience for having robbed Gale of her third of the original estate.
Fine bunch of dog robbers in our family.
Oh, if it'd only end here.
Dr. Croft, you realize we don't know yet whether Doc Sims died naturally or whether he was murdered?
True. The body...
Yes, I know. Body hasn't stayed in one place long enough for us to perform an autopsy.
Well, the fact is, I'm not certain I'd be justified in performing an autopsy on anything as much alive.
Oh. Now, look here, it's after 1 o'clock. Aren't you folks ready for lunch?
Well, I'm afraid I'm not.
Well, I am.
Sure, everybody will be when they smell food. And Miss Stanley, how about you and Carmel poking around the groceries and knocking together a hot lunch? Feel up to it?
Oh, yes, let's do something. It'll help us forget the bad thing.
That's the idea.
Well, all right. Where will we find things?
Well, everything's in the cooler or on the shelves. Just help yourselves.
But, Captain Friday, are you going out?
Oh, the doctor and I have a little job to attend to. Andres, you and Stanley stick by the house. Don't leave, you understand?
See, I know.
And don't let the girls out of your sight.
If you think there's danger...
Lay off that stuff, Stanley. If I thought there was any danger, I wouldn't leave you out here on guard. It's daylight, isn't it?
But it's so foggy, it's almost like evening.
Are you afraid?
No. Not if you say it's all right.
Oh, sure, it's all right. Anybody else afraid?
Well, how long will you be gone?
Oh, we'll be back by the time you get lunch ready.
You're mighty mysterious.
Never mind, Stanley. Come on, Doctor. Mind now. None of you leave the cottage.
I say, Captain, I was much mystified as the rest.
Yeah? Well, we're going over and get Doc Sims' body and have an examination. Makes a lot of difference whether he died a natural death or was murdered.
If he was murdered, it was by poison. I can tell you that much.
I want to be certain, Doctor. Besides that, I want to get all these bodies back in the morgue. We've got an inquest tomorrow morning, and I don't intend to chase the coroner's jury all over the country looking for bodies.
Oh, quite.
We'll take Doc Sims to the morgue first. He's closest. You know, there's a refrigeration chamber in the cellar below ground.
Is there really?
Yeah. Well, I'm going to bind all 3 bodies and stick them down there for tonight. There's no windows, and you can bar the one door from the outside. If that doesn't hold them, nothing will.
Refrigeration, eh? They'll put in a pretty cold night, don't you think, Captain?
Yeah. Oh, hold it. Well, here's Doc Sims' place.
Why, so it is. You know, the fog's so thick, it's changed the whole appearance of the vicinity.
Come on in, Doctor. Oh, you've still got the key to the study, haven't you?
Yes.
Blasted dark in this hallway. Wait until I switch on the lights. Yeah, there. Now we'll just... Dr. Croft, look at this.
What's happened?
Look, door's busted open, splintered to pieces.
Door smashed?
Yeah, from the inside.
Door smashed open from the inside? What about Doc Sims' body?
Wait till I get the light. Look at that.
See here, Captain. This thing's superhuman. It's not possible.
Body's gone. Look at those ropes. Broken, snapped in two.
No human thing could have broken those ropes, Captain.
Yeah, but they're broken just the same. Look at those frazzled ends.
The corpse appears to have broken them with his hands as though they'd been twine. Notice? Not a knot untied.
A fat chance of us finding Rich Hartley's half-wit boy where we left him if this sort of thing is happening.
Shall we go over to the Walters place and see?
I suppose so. Nothing we can do here.
Are you taking those ropes with you?
I want to examine them. Come on.
Captain, you know there was a time when people believed that devils could enter a dead body at will. And of course you know that these unearthly beings were endowed with unlimited strength.
I guess I better lock up. Although locks don't seem to mean much around here.
If you're interested in this devil theory...
I'm not, Doctor. I'll bet money that when we get to the bottom of this, there'll be some doggone simple explanation that'll make me blush to think I overlooked it.
Undoubtedly you're right. Say, Captain, Doc Sims' house was locked up just as I left it.
Well?
Well, do you suppose we should have searched for the body? You know, it may still be there.
Well, it hasn't escaped before now. It's because it hasn't wanted to.
Yes, I suppose so.
We'll take a look when we go back. Well, Andrew Walter's front door is still intact. The half-wit's broken out of this house. It wasn't by this door. Go ahead, Doctor.
Oh, we should have stopped in at the morgue and bought a stretcher.
Snap on the light, will you?
Nothing's disturbed.
Closet door's still locked, all right? Just a minute till I get the right key here.
If I remember rightly, you used that long, plain one.
Yeah, that's right. Well, I'll be a son of a gun. There's a body just as we left it.
Getting to be that ordinary events are more surprising. Captain, the body moved. It moved, didn't you see it?
What's that?
Careful. Don't bend over it like that.
Yes, I'm watching.
Captain, behind you!
Hey, what's going on here? Oh.
As Dr. Croft and Captain Friday bent over the corpse of the half-wit body, the diabolical force loose in the village of Holman crept up stealthily from behind. But what is that force? Who is it who animates the dead and strikes with such deadly effect? Episode 7 of Dead Men Prowl, entitled 4 Go to Join the Prowling Dead, will come to you next week at this same hour. You are listening to Adventures by Morse.
Dead Men Prowl. That was Chapter 6. And, of course, the 7th one will be coming on the next podcast, so be looking for that. If you want to contact me at brainboys@aol.com, I'll sign you up for our mailing list, and then I can send out an email to let everybody know when a new podcast is up and available. So, again, that's brainboys@aol.com, and I'll sign you up for the list if that's what you want. You can also use that address to make requests and things like that. All right, well, that about wraps it up for this particular podcast. I'm going to close with a song. This is one of my favorites from Little Roger and the Goosebumps. This is Stairway to Gilligan on the St. Louis Brain Sandwich Show. Thanks for listening. Adios.
Just sit right back and you'll hear a tale of a faithful trip that started from this tropic port aboard this tiny ship. The mate was a mighty sailor and the skipper brave and sure. 5 passengers set sail that day for a 3-hour tour. Ooh, and it makes you wonder. The ship aground on the shore of this uncharted desert isle with Gilligan, the skipper too, the millionaire and his wife. The weather started getting rough, and the tiny ship was tossed. In the minnow it was lost, but just too near to get a smell, yeah. And they're here on Gilligan.